Hello, everybody. Dallisa Hocking here, fifth generation psychic medium. And this is a brand new weekly series called Planets and Predictions. And today's episode has none other than the crowd favorite, Scott Tejerian. We're going to be talking about astrology. I'll be looking at my tarot cards. We're definitely going to look at the full moon in Leo this week. We have a fun feature that is here on the screen, and this is our jar. And so this jar here, if you are logged into your YouTube channel or your YouTube account and you comment, each time you comment on the live stream, you will see a little bauble go inside of this jar, and I will be selecting a winner at the end of today's live stream that will get a personalized tarot card report that I will do. I will shuffle my cards and pull 12 of them, showing you your year ahead. So make sure that you have subscribed to the YouTube channel, given this video a thumbs up, and that you are contributing in the comments. We're gonna have a lot of fun with it. I've never seen a jar and a giveaway on a stream before, so we're gonna give it a whirl. But I'm going to bring Scott here on the screen here in just a moment to join me. If you've been following my YouTube channel, you know Scott. We do a lot of collaborations together, and he's an author, an astrologer. His website is theweeklytransit.com, and he's got a great podcast as well. So welcome in, everybody. Hello. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I feel like this episode is going to tackle, yes, the Leo full moon, but also, is romance dead? Are pennies dead? Pennies, you know, like the little pennies we've used in the grocery store forever, are those dead? So we're going to be talking about that. I also want to look at some news headlines with Scott and see how the astrology is playing into these news stories. Why are airplanes falling out of the sky? So we have a lot to tackle in today's show. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Scott on to join me. And I'll move my little jar out of the way here. Oh, look at us. We're getting baubles already.
I know, wow.
I am such a dork because the jar is filling up. I was telling you backstage before we went live that I've been testing out the streaming software, and I told my Sacred Signals inner community folks before we went live, I said, if it all works according to plan, I'll be doing a prize giveaway. And so, yeah, every time somebody comments, their little bauble goes in there. If it's your picture, it'll have your little face on it as it goes in the jar. Otherwise, it'll just be your first initial of your account name, it looks like. So we'll pull the winner at the end of the live stream. But it looks like we have a lot of folks joining. We have, let's see here. We even have Vicky from New Zealand. So let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. But we have a lot to go over today, Scott.
Yes.
So I have to ask you first, before we start looking at some of these news headlines, this Leo full moon.
Yeah.
So when I think of Leo energy, I think of heart, I think of fiery, I think of passion. So what's your take on this full moon energy this week?
Yeah, well, the full moon is a release. And so whatever the sign that the moon is in, that's the frequency that we're releasing. And Leo is fixed fire. It's ruled by the sun, the center of the solar system. It's symbolized by the lion, the king of the jungle. It rules the heart, which is the most important part of the body. Without a heart, you're not alive. It's the first part of the body that is, or the first organ that's developed in utero. But when I think of Leo in this full moon, the word that comes up for me is pride, because a group of lions is called a pride, not a herd. It's a pride. And so what we're doing during this full moon in Leo is we're releasing our pride. Whatever it is that's getting in the way, when you think about the new moon, what we're releasing in the full moon is to help us hone in on the frequency that we were setting for our intentions during the new moon. And the new moon was in Aquarius, and that was about taking responsibility for your role within the community, within the group, the group construct, the team. And so if you have too much pride, then you are not assimilating in a proper way to the group. And pride could be, like, I think of it as like this, like we're all salt. And if there's no salt in the dish, then it's bland. But if there's too much salt in the dish, it's ruined. So, if you are being too small, that might be because your pride says, well, I don't want to get involved. I can't be a part of this. Get out of your own way there. Or maybe your pride is saying, I need to be the center of attention, and you're being too much salt in the dish as opposed to not any salt in the dish. So we want to find that kind of in-between space. And in releasing the pride, we're opening our hearts. And in opening our hearts, we're open to receiving. I feel like that's the highest frequency of masculine, feminine energies, because the masculine energy is to open your heart. That's the doing. And the feminine energy is being willing to receive in your heart. And so if you have too much pride going on, then your heart is closed and you're not going to be able to contribute in a way that's meaningful to the group, the community, or to yourself.
When you think of, because we all have Leo in our chart somewhere, and some of us know our chart, some of us don't. That's okay. This is going to impact all of us, the Leo energy. I saw in the comments, somebody was saying that they have a Leo sun, Maggie here.
Yes. Hey, Maggie. I know Maggie.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So I imagine we have some Leo suns, maybe people that know that they're a Leo rising or a Leo moon. But this shows up for all of us. So when you think about Leo as a sign, and I love what you were saying about pride and our ego, every sign has its high form, its shadow side. So when you think of Leo, what would be like both ends of that spectrum, and maybe how we would see this play out in our life based on the characteristics of Leo?
Well, I think it's like I was saying, like I think of it in terms of, on one hand, it's trying to be the center of attention. That's that Leo frequency where, hey, I'm the star, look at me. That, sometimes if you're trying to, show up the group, you're trying to gain all the attention. That's what needs to be released. On the other frequency is being the black hole. That's the other frequency of the sun, is the black hole, where you come into the room and you're not saying like, hey, everyone, look at me. I'm the star. Everyone pay attention to me. Instead, you come into the room and you're that person that's in the corner with your arms crossed, just looking down, looking at everyone. You're sucking the energy out of the room. That's the dish that has no salt. The dish that has too much salt is the one that the person that comes in and says, hey, everyone, look at me. So you want to find the balance between those two frequencies. You don't want to suck the energy out of the room, but at the same time, you don't want to overpower the room with your energy.
Oh, it's so good. I've seen both expressions in Leo energy. I mean, I think a lot of us can think of Leos that we know in our life, rather, sun, moon, or rising, but for somebody that has strong Leo placements, I've seen it play out both ways. I have North Node in Leo. Do you have anything in Leo?
Everybody has something in Leo.
I mean, do you have like planets or anything in Leo?
My Saturn is in Leo.
Oh,
yes, my Saturn is in Leo, and my Saturn in my 5th house is in Leo.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's the or is it no, I'm saying that wrong. It's actually my 4th. Yeah, my 6th house, my 5th house is in Leo. Why don't I know? Right the first time. My 5th house is in Leo, and my Saturn is in Leo. So my fifth house is in the sign that is associated with Leo, because Leo's the fifth sign. So it's a natural house for me to have fun, to play games, to enjoy life, in that sort of, normal sort of way, That's what the fifth house in Leo is about.
Before I start getting into some of these headlines and talking to you about the astrology of them, I just want to get kind of a pulse check from you on, what are you seeing maybe with your clientele, just generally, or when you're sitting and reflecting on the world and the energy that we have right now? Is there anything that comes to mind for you on what you're seeing or sensing?
There's a heaviness. It's not with everyone. I feel like people that I'm working with that have a lot of Pisces in their chart, they're the ones that are kind of handling these frequencies that we're experiencing right now in the greatest sense of normalcy, I guess. But for a lot of other people, and even some Pisces people, I do have some Pisces clients where it's feeling really heavy because of all these planets in Pisces. There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of confusion. People are feeling disillusioned about certain aspects of their life, or they're just confused in general, or they're missing appointments, or, there's a cloudiness. There's just kind of a general cloudiness. What am I supposed to be doing right now? Disillusionment. Yeah. But then at the same time, it's also, it's not total despair. And I feel like Pisces brings a lot of faith, along with the confusion. But it's definitely like a heavy Pisces time. That's what I'm feeling.
Do you think that a lot of it has to do with that North Node changing into Pisces, or do you think it's like some of these outer planets moving from Pisces into Aries? There's just like a lot of activation there, or do you think it's kind of a combination of everything?
Well, the outer planets aren't moving into Aries yet. So like Saturn and Neptune are still in Pisces. The North Node transited back into Pisces in early January. And so I think it's really the North Node transiting into Pisces. There was a period where we had Venus, the North Node, Saturn, and Neptune all in Pisces. Now Venus transited into Aries, but Venus is going to transit back into Pisces on March 27th. But before that happens, on February 14th, the Mercury transits into Pisces. February 18th, the Sun transits into Pisces. And then we're going to have the new moon in Pisces the end of February. So this is maybe the lightest time that we've had these last couple weeks in terms of like the totality of the year so far. But, I went back and looked, and I think we might have talked about this on our last live, was the last time that Neptune and the North Node had transited through Pisces conjunct, and there was there was two or more planets in addition to that in Pisces, was 500 years ago, 1523. And the time before that was 1039. The time before that was 872. So, and you look back historically to all these periods, and there are similarities in terms of what we're experiencing now, where there were world leaders who were kind of consolidating their resources in their countries, or trying to push other people out of their countries. This is not sort of a new thing that's going on right now in terms of like the United States. It's something that has occurred when you look at history of this transit with Neptune and the North Node in Pisces. It's something that's come up in the past.
Interesting. Yeah, with Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac, and then this restart with Aries.
Yes.
It feels to me like, and I don't know how to drive a clutch, a manual car. I don't know how.
Yeah.
But the symbolism that Spirit just showed me is like this jerkiness, which is probably me driving a clutch. and just feeling like it's like this jerky motion of like, I can't get my car quite going in the right direction, where maybe my car is stalling on the side of the road. But just, spirit speaks to me in symbols. And, it's like playing Pictionary. And so it feels like maybe a bunch of people are blowing their transmissions out right now.
Yeah. And I think it's going to continue even when Neptune and Saturn transit into Aries. Because those are two heavy planets. It's like Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac. It carries the weight of the 11 previous signs. It rules the feet. The feet carry the weight of the entire body. So that's where the heaviness comes from with Pisces. But what's the planetary ruler of Pisces? The planetary ruler of Pisces is Neptune. So even when Neptune moves into Aries, the first sign, it brings that heavy energy to the first sign, which should be theoretically the lightest sign because it's the head. But Saturn is the god of wealth and time. There's a heaviness to Saturn as well. It's the planetary ruler of the second to last two signs before Pisces. It rules Capricorn, it rules Aquarius, and it requires responsibility and restriction in order to commit to doing the work to receive that responsibility for achievement. So when you have the planet of restriction and the planet of illusion transiting into the sign that represents the self, when Neptune and Saturn transit into Aries, we're going to be confused about who we are. We're going to feel restricted in our self-confidence. We're really going to have to work at learning how to define who we are. There's some major shifts happening in this world, in this country, over the next several months, where we're going to have to look at each other or look at ourselves in the mirror and say, like, who am I? Like, what? I don't know who I am in this new world. I have to figure that out.
And they're typically, Neptune's slower than Saturn, but I just kind of think of what you shared, and it's not something that like, oh, we get through a full moon or a new moon and it's over. Like this is going to be around a while. And what I'm hearing is like a crisis of self-identity. I know that's basically what you just said, but It's people trying to figure out, which also says to me that there's going to be a lot more changing. And I've been predicting that. I do weekly predictions for my Sacred Signals community, where I really download and tune in like what's coming. And there's a lot that's going to be unfolding. And so maybe it's us trying to find our footing again once all these things happen this year, of like, where do I belong, or who like, what is my community now?
Exactly.
Interesting. Yeah.
Like when you think about like Pisces, it's all this water, and water is something that moves, and it takes different shapes. And so with these planets, like, I'm really curious to see what's going to happen the end of February when we have 5 planets in the North Node in Pisces. What is going to be reshifting or reshaping? Like the clouds are going to be moving and shifting into different shapes. And so that is going to bring about a new reality for us. This is also a time for great creativity as well. So however you're feeling about the changes that are going on, this is an important time to really tap into your creative nature, your unconscious, to become really aware of the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame that exists within your unconscious. That is a part of this full moon in Leo, which, by the way, is squaring Uranus in Taurus. And so, which is what I wanted to bring up with all these articles that you sent me, because the main transit that I was thinking about was this is Uranus in Taurus.
Oh, yeah. We've got, I think, 5 that we're going to go through. And these are just screenshots of real articles that I found in the last day or so. I wanted to put Vicky's comment on the screen real quick about driving clutch, driving the manual. Got to remain calm and balanced, or you bunny hop the car or stall. nail it, and then you're cruising on the open road and it's awesome. So try not to sell your car out. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. We have so many awesome people in the comments sharing their locations and how, they're aligning with Leo and all that good energy. So let's bring the first article up here. So this one is about the plane crashes. I think there was somebody killed even yesterday in the United States in an airport accident. But we've had the helicopter airplane collision, that tragedy. We had military plane fall out of the sky, kamikaze style. Yeah. It's been craziness.
Yeah.
And so what is it, do you think, astrologically, that is happening or setting off all of these issues with aviation?
Yeah, well, I think it all comes back to Uranus, because Uranus is the planet of the unexpected, the planet of revolution and rebellion. And wherever it goes, it brings about that sort of frenetic energy that shakes things up. And it's been transiting through Taurus since 2019. You look at this, the headline of this article, and it says, cause fears about safety of flying. So safety, Taurus is the sign of security. It's symbolized by the bull. So when the planet of the unexpected and the planet of revolution, rebellion, Uranus, is transiting through the sign of security and safety, you don't feel safe. Think about the last time that Uranus transited through Taurus. That was 1935 to 1942. Think about how many plane crashes occurred in that 7-year period. That was during World War II. I mean, planes were falling out of the sky all over Europe and the Pacific. So this is kind of like small potatoes compared to that. When you think about all the damage that occurred in World War II and in the fear of safety, people also migrated en masse across continents to find a safer place to live. That also happened in 1851 to 1858. Which was the time before that Uranus was in Taurus, which was during the gold rush, which was when people were so desperate that they traveled in a horse and buggy 3,000 miles across the continental US to find a better life. So, when Uranus transits through Taurus, there's a real unsettling feeling in terms of safety and security. And so when you think about it in terms of this full moon, Uranus is squaring the full moon. It's squaring the sun, which is obviously opposite the full moon. That's why the moon is full. It's squaring Mercury, which is conjunct the sun and opposing the moon. So this full moon, which is tonight into tomorrow, Wednesday, February 12th, is really shaking up it's revolutionizing our self-worth, our values, and we're having to hold that tension in the center between what's in my heart and what is my responsibility to the group, to the community? What do I need to contribute? And how do I revolutionize my thinking and my self-worth and my values and my heart so that I can feel a sense of balance and peace in this frequency, which is not easy.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, Uranus is going to go into Gemini July 7th. And so do you think that these next 5 months essentially, and especially I don't know if it would be especially because it's not retrograde. I was going to say if it's stationed, we'd kick up more aviation issues. But do you think that this will be?
Well, it is going to go retrograde in Uranus or in Gemini. Uranus is going to go retrograde in Gemini and it's going to transit back into Taurus. So it's not done. It's not done with Taurus, even though it does move into Gemini. It just moves in the first 2 degrees degrees 0 and 1. And then it transits back into Taurus. And so it doesn't fully move into Gemini for the long haul for the 7 years until 2026. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about that, I'm sure, because there's a lot coming with Uranus changing signs and going into Gemini and all that brings with it. And yeah, but you and I know we have another episode scheduled. And I mean, we'll talk regularly. Let's go on to the next headline then and see what comes up for you. This is Trader Joe's and Costco limit egg sales nationwide as there are egg shortages. So is there anything in the astrology around food distribution issues or shortages?
100%. Yes. And I saw this exact same thing when I went to the Whole Foods in my neighborhood the other day. And there was a sign that said, due to us finding eggs that are up to our quality of standard, we have a shortage right now, and everybody is limited to 3 cartons. So
who needs 3 cartons of eggs is my next question.
Seriously,
but anyway.
That's what I said. Wow, you must have a lot of people living in your house if you need 3 cartons of eggs. So this goes back to the exact same transit. The first thing I thought when I saw that in the grocery store, I was like, oh, this is Uranus in Taurus, because Taurus is your self-worth, your values. It's food, Taurus is related to agriculture. Exactly. When I think of Taurus, it's ruled by Venus. Venus is the planet that rules the 5 physical senses. So Tauruses love to eat because the flavor of the food, the taste, they know what they like, what they don't like. And so this is revolutionizing our relationship to food. This is not new to now. Let's remember this. Uranus moved into Taurus in 2019. Everybody can remember what things look like during the beginning of COVID. You walk into the grocery store and everything's off the shelf. This is the frequency of Uranus in Taurus. Go back to 1935 to 1942, bread lines, soup lines, shortage of foods throughout the world, famine. This is, the Great Depression in the United States. This is why people were moving across the country, because they needed to find work so they could find food. We're here again. That's what this is. Get used to it. Figure out how to conserve what you need. And maybe you realize that you don't need this, but you do need that. It's really about breaking down what truly has value to me, what is important to me, what are the foods that I need. Maybe I need to start raising my own chickens. Join the revolution. You can't do things the way that you've always done them in the past. If you continue to do things the way you've done them in the past, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, good point. I have a Discord community for my membership, and they've been wanting to talk more about gardening, because I've been getting psychic downloads about food issues, more so, not just the eggs, just like you were talking about, even more people being in food pantry lines. And I feel like there's going to be more issues with food. So it's interesting when I see it as a psychic and you see it as an astrologer, and then we have the news stories that confirm what it is.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I always tell people, so often I'm doing readings for somebody and they'll say, oh my God, I had my palm read, and they said the same thing. Or I went to see a numerology person. They told me the same thing. Or I had a reading with a psychic. They told me the same thing. And I'm like, yes, if, we're all just communicating what's on the other side in our own way. And if everybody's doing their job, then you're getting the same message a dozen different ways.
Exactly. And that's why I love teaching psychic development. I just taught a remote viewing class today. And I tell my students all the time, I'm like, anybody can do this. We're just tuning into a frequency and bringing our awareness into a future event, or something that leaves an emotional impact, a big event that's coming. But we can all do it. And so I
Right.
love what you said. Like, yeah, you should be hearing the same thing from multiple people that are tuned in.
Totally.
Because we should be looking at the same stuff, or we should be feeling the same frequencies. But so good point on that. Okay, so the eggs we're probably still going to have issues with. And if you only need one carton by one, you don't need three.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's see what news story we have next. What the end of the penny means for the economy, your piggy bank, and the way America prices items. So I've been predicting a change of money. And, you know, I'm sure on some of our episodes, we've talked about the change of currency and things moving into a digital platform.
Yes.
I know it's been top of mind in some of my predictions. So what is it about astrology that's pointing to a change in money? Is that, let me guess, Uranus and Taurus?
Hello. Yes. I mean, think about it. The bull is the symbol for financial abundance. You know, the bull is in front of Wall Street. The stockbrokers, they want a bull market because it means that it's going up. And so Taurus is associated with money, self-worth, values. You know, in order to buy the food that you desire or the clothes that you desire, you need money. So you go back to 1935 to 1942. That was the Great Depression. You know, there was a lot of instability in the financial realm of the world at that point. You go back to 1851 to 1858. That's the California gold rush. And then even going back to 1768 to 1775. That's when Uranus was in Taurus before the previous two times. There was also, a lot of financial upheaval that was going on that led to the American Revolution. You know, it's interesting that Uranus transiting through Taurus was just before the American Revolution. The American Revolution started in 1775, which was the end of Uranus's transit through Taurus. The gold rush, 1851 to 1858. Civil War started in 1861 and 62, right around then. And then, of course, the Great Depression and World War II. That was the last time Uranus was in Taurus. So, there's going to be an upheaval in terms of money, a revolution to money. This is, think about how much money has changed since 2019. Cryptocurrency, like you think of, like, I live in Los Angeles, like the arena where the Lakers play is called Crypto.com Arena. It wasn't called Crypto.com Arena in 2019. It was called Staples, off the Office Store, the Staples Center. Now it's the Crypto.com Center. And that's how mainstream crypto has become. And it's going to continue to go that way.
Fascinating. And so, so we know that Uranus is going into Gemini July 7th, but then it's going to retrograde back into Taurus, and then it's going to go forward into Gemini again. So you said it's not all the way out of Taurus until 2026.
Exactly. So Uranus, it begins its retrograde in Gemini on September 5th at 1 degree and 27 minutes. And then it retrogrades back into Taurus on November 7th. And then it won't be back into Gemini until 2026. So, we've got about from July to November, we get a little taste of Uranus in Gemini. And I think that's going to be, I don't know, I want to be optimistic and say it's going to be exciting. I think there's going to be some major changes that happen in terms of society, community, technology. Technological advancements are going to be, I think they're going to be really wild this next year, because Uranus is the planet that rules Aquarius, and Aquarius is the sign of invention because it's symbolized by the water bear, and the water bear invented the jug. Pluto, the planet of transformation, is in Aquarius. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius was during the Industrial Revolution. also the American and French Revolution. So there's changes to society, changes to technology, but Uranus is going to form a trine, an air supportive aspect with Pluto in Aquarius when it's transiting through Gemini. So, I mean, I feel like our minds are going to be lit up. We're going to see things that like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm seeing this in my lifetime. This is like from a movie that didn't even predict this, but it's here. You know, it doesn't feel real. So I'm intrigued to see what that, and that's going to be aligning with Saturn. And both of those planets are going to be aligning with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And so I think a part of that reimagination of who am I, and learning to sort of gain the courage to step forward confidently as the individual authentic that, you know, this is who I am, is going to come because of these technological changes. It's going to be like, who am I in this new world with these technological changes? You know, I was just in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago, and it's really interesting, you know, being in this city with all this old, beautiful architecture, and then seeing dozens and dozens of cars driving around with nobody in the driver's seat.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that story, but
it's normal.
Yeah.
Because they have this, you probably haven't seen it where you are, but you know, they have them in LA too, but LA is so much bigger that you don't see it as often. You might see one on the freeway and you're like, oh, but it's like this Waymo is this self-driving car, and you just download the app, they pick you up, and you get in the back of the car. You can sit in the front, but there's no one driving, and the car just takes you to where you need to go. And they're all over San Francisco. It's like being in the future.
That's interesting, because the first thing that comes to mind when you talk about that is, I mean, I think about jobs. Mm-hmm. There's going to be so much changing to the job market. Who has jobs? What are we doing? That is heading to us like a speeding train.
Exactly.
Which is going to change. Like, we'll all have to ask ourselves, like, what am I doing for work? Am I making money? If I'm not making money, then who am I? Yes. So many people, you walk into a party, and I remember this usually, you know, from the days of my corporate work in Las Vegas, but you'd walk into a party or an event, a charity event, and the first thing they ask you is, oh, where do you work? What do you do? Mm-hmm. And that's going to shake a lot of people, because a lot of folks identify with their job or their income as like who they are, but that's not going to be who we are. You know, like that, exactly. That whole identification is up for renegotiation. So,
and that that's also like what you're talking about right now is so in line with Saturn in Aries, because Saturn is the planet that represents the authority and career, goals, ambitions, and Aries is the sign of the self. So Saturn transiting through Aries, it's like, yeah, what am I working to achieve? What am I spending my time on? You know, is this worthy of my time? Does it make sense for me?
I think this emoji says everything. It's like, yeah. And then Constance is saying that they're using electronic ticketing to travel on the ferry. So, yeah, I've been talking for a bit now about how money, like paper money and currency, mm-hmm. It's just flat. I don't feel any energy to it. And so I think that that's part of this change with currency. Interesting. Okay, let's go to our next headline. Let's see what I stuck in here. So this comes up a lot. People ask me about war. They ask me about different attacks in the US or internationally. But this was an article that I found yesterday on the 10th. That Hamas cancels hostage releases until further notice. So they're blaming, terms of the agreement being violated. So what is it astrologically that's happening that's kicking up a lot of this war or me against you, or the divisiveness that we see in so many ways around the world. Is there something happening now?
Yeah, it's a combination of these 4 planets and where they are. Like where they are, they've never been, these 4 planets haven't been where they are in the same time ever in recorded history. But where Pluto is right now is where it was during the American Revolution and at the precipice of the French Revolution. Where Neptune is right now is where it was during the beginning of the Civil War. And that's the last time these planets were in these positions, is what was going on in history. The last time Uranus was where it is right now was during World War II. So yeah, Pluto, American Revolution, that was the last time. Neptune, the Civil War, that was the last time. Uranus, that was World War II. And the last time Chiron was where it is right now was during the Vietnam War. So what does that mean? Like Chiron, that's urging us to face our fears and insecurities. We have to figure out who we are and as individuals. And we need to face our fears and insecurities so that we can be more self-confident. You know, when you think about when Chiron was in Aries, the last time was 1967. It literally moved into Aries the day that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. April 4th, 1967. That was the day that Chiron moved into Aries. That created a lot of fear, a lot of insecurity. It was in Aries until the mid 70s, until 75, 76. And so, during that 8-year period, you had the Nixon impeachment, the Vietnam War. People did not have a lot of confidence in their country, in themselves. And then there's also, so that was Chiron. Uranus is, this is urging us to revolutionize our self-worth and values. So when you think about how these two play together, in order to value yourself, you need to know who you are. In order to know who you are, you need to face your fears and insecurities. So that's Chiron and Aries. Then Uranus and Taurus says, value yourself, revolutionize your self-worth, your values, value yourself more. Neptune in Pisces brings about that opening where we're just feeling more what other people are feeling, the pain, the suffering. And there's an urge to escape, because it's enough to deal with my own pain and suffering, let alone the pain and suffering of everyone around me. But what we need to do when we feel triggered, which is a word that's come up since Neptune transited into Pisces back in 2011, 2012. Why is that word such a thing? Because we are becoming more triggered, because when somebody else is going through something, it's hard not to take it on as my own. But when you feel that suffering within yourself, you need, or through someone else, you need to say, well, what's the root of this within me? There's some sort of guilt or shame, regret or blame that exists within me, and I need to show myself compassion. I need to forgive myself so I can integrate these thought patterns and memories with love, rather than disdain for myself and whoever made me feel that way. Then when you've got Pluto in Aquarius, this is about transforming the community. As we become more self-confident, more self-reliant based on our self-worth and values, as we become more forgiving to ourselves, our society has to change. And we realize that we all deserve more than what we have, and there needs to be greater balance within the whole.
Hoo-wee. Yeah. Okay, put that in your pipe and smoke it, I guess. I mean, it's like so heavy, but it's asking us to go within and transmute and heal. And yeah. I'm sure it'll be a topic for a while. And it'll probably, in my psychic awareness, the themes of attacks and wars will increase before they decrease.
Yeah, so I agree.
Yeah. I think we have one more news story, and I think it's perfect for this week. And And I have to agree with it, that dating and romance is like a dumpster fire. So, so the article from Wired, the headline says, modern romance is a web of scams, AI boyfriends, and Tinder burnout. But a smarter, more human, and more pleasure-filled future is possible. So I've been seeing this headline about AI helping us as like a matchmaker, right? Like it knows who you are, what you want, and then it teams up with, I guess, other chatbots or other AI components and basically becomes your matchmaker. But I think a lot of singles that I've come across in my friend group, the conversation is how terrible dating is in like the modern world and how horrifying the dating apps are and things like that. So I know you talked about Venus switching signs. I'm not sure if it's Pluto and Aquarius or where this might fit into the astrology, but is there any hope for people like really connecting together in a meaningful way? Or is love and romance in honor of Valentine's Day this week, is it just going to continue to be a dumpster fire? I'm looking at you, Scott, to help all of us out here.
You know, I mean, I can see it both ways, you know, because like Aquarius is the sign that's opposite Leo, and Leo's the sign that rules the heart. And so when you have Pluto, the most willful planet, transiting through Aquarius, it's going to draw us away from that romantic vibe. And it's more about, you know, the community. And so I think that the more that you're getting out there and you're being social in whatever manner that means to you, that's where opportunities are going to come to meet somebody. With Venus transiting into Aquarius or into Aries as it is right now, and it's going to go to 10 degrees and then retrograde back to Pisces on March 27th, and then it comes back to Aries again and spends another full month or so in Aries later on in the year. So like in April, I think it's May. I have to look. Hold on a second. I'm going to say this right. So let me look at my notes. Venus moves into Aries April 30th and transits there until June 5th. So during these periods from now until March 27th and April 30th to June 5th, you want to ask yourself 3 questions. Who am I? What do I want? And what do I want? What am I willing to give in return? Who am I? What do I want? And what am I willing to give in return? And you need to take that approach to all of your relationships, whether it's a lover, a friend, a business partner. The more clear that you can be about that, the more likely you're going to attract somebody that's going to be a positive match for you. But you know, the age of romance, you know, I feel like, I don't know. It's like, I think of like the 1960s, you know, all those people that were born between 1937 and 1957, they were the ones that were a part of the summer of love, you know, 1969 or 68, whatever it was. And they were born with Pluto in Leo. And so they had the strong, willful heart to be romantic and loving. And now we're pulling away from that. Like, we're pulling away from the romance. We're pulling away from the celebrity and the fame. And it's going to be a dramatic shift over the next 20 years. But it doesn't mean that you can't have love. What it means is love is going to be more logical, more practical. It's not going to be the fairy tale fantasy that so many of us were sold growing up as children, you know, of the happily ever after. It's going to be, what are the practical facts here? Do we work? Do we make sense? And how can we make it work if we don't make perfect sense? Do we want to make it work? It requires work. Work is the key, because Saturn is the planetary ruler of Aquarius. So we have to be willing to do the work and we have to be willing to be unconventional in terms of what relationships mean. That's Uranus as the planetary ruler of Aquarius, and transiting through Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, the planet of love. So we've got to be logical, we've got to be willing to do the work, and we've got to be willing to be different than what the societal norm says a loving romantic relationship is supposed to be.
Heavy sigh. I hear you.
I want to read this article though, because I want to create a dating app that uses astrology to help people match. But
please.
I need a coder.
Maybe somebody in the community knows somebody that can help you build it. The coding for it.
Yeah.
So I'm also hearing, I'm putting a couple of these stories together we've talked about today, is that we also have to not only think about who we are in society now or how we're going to define ourselves or where we fit in, but that our relationships are probably on the forefront too, of like, maybe I thought it was going to be, fill in the blank, but it's not. And the energy is shifting, and that could be friends, bosses, lovers, but that feels like everything is kind of on the table to take another look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yes. And all of this kind of boils back to, the one transit that I think is so important for everyone to remember over the next year and a half is this North Node in Pisces, which continues until July 26th of 2026. The South Node is in Virgo, and Virgo is that need to control. We have to release that need to control. We have to take our hands off the wheel. I've been saying this a lot lately, and, I'd like to leave your audience with this, that it's important to think of Earth as a restaurant. That's what Earth is. Earth is a restaurant, and you are the guest. The servers and staff, those are the angels and spirit guides. And God, or the universe, or whatever higher power you believe in, that's the chef. And if you are a specific manifester, your job is to go into the restaurant, sit down, and order exactly what you want. And when you order it, you don't go back into the kitchen and start cooking it. You sit and you wait for it to arrive to the table. If you are a non-specific manifester, you say to the server when they come over to your table and they ask, what would you like? You say, I don't know, but I'd like something amazing. I've heard this place is incredible, and I trust that whatever you bring me is going to be beyond my expectations. If we're living in that frequency, especially over the next year and a half, you're going to get through these bumps, whether it's romance or finance or whatever it may be that you're going through, you're going to get through it. But the more that you're clinging to the way things have always been or how you think they're supposed to be, the more you're going to find frustration in the year and a half. Trust the chef. Exactly, Sarah. Yes. I love that.
Oh my gosh. And if people are scratching their heads right now and they're like, I have no idea if I'm a manifestor, a projector, blah, blah, blah. That's something that you can help them with, right?
Yes,
exactly. You do client sessions and
yes.
So they should go check out your website, theweeklytransit.com, to learn all of the things. And you teach classes and things too. Because I've seen some comments today, people are like, I wish I knew more about astrology, but I'm learning. And so Scott does a lot of really great content and classes. And so make sure you go get on his email list, follow him on social media, all that good stuff. I got a few more things I got to do with my audience here, but Scott, I appreciate you jumping on today and being a part of the conversation.
Such an honor and a pleasure, Dallisa, always. Thanks for having me.
Yay. Until next time, Scott, I'll take you off the screen now, but I'm sure everybody enjoyed what you had to say, and I'll have you back on the show again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. We've done so many episodes together over the years, and I was trying to think back how I originally connected with him, and I think it might have been when I was planning an online summit. This was a few years back, and I was online doing some research, and I was trying to find like awesome astrologers. And I came across Scott because I found an old email. So I think that's how I originally was directed into his energy path, but I'm glad the universe brought us together. Yeah, Scott's awesome. I know I have another episode scheduled with him for March, and we're probably just going to do kind of a regular thing. So we do need to pick a winner for the jar contest that we've had going today. So if you dropped a comment here on YouTube, you'll notice your little bauble is inside of my jar. So I'm going to pull that here at the end of the episode. I do have a couple of quick things I want to go over. One is I pulled some tarot cards, and I wanted to bring them up on the screen. So my Sacred Signals Inner Circle membership, thank you to everybody who's a part of that. It's amazing, and I love the conversations you guys are all having on Discord. It's really fun to see the community coming together like that. But they asked me a lot of questions. And one that I wanted to pull cards about today was, are we going to have more earthquakes? Because I had a psychic stage show. I did a performance Thursday night, and somebody asked me in the audience about natural disasters. And so I was talking about how I've been having a bunch of these premonitions around more earthquakes, and how I typically will feel natural disasters, more so earthquakes, before they happen. And so I thought, I'm going to pull some tarot cards. I'm going to show you which cards I got, and I'm going to answer that question. And if you are a Sacred Signals member, this Thursday when I do your exclusive predictions, there's a couple of things I'm going to be looking at. One, are aliens here, and are they communicating with us? Two, is there going to be a large-scale attack in the United States soon? And is there going to be a mystery illness in the U.S.? So Sacred Signal members will go live for that exclusive video Thursday. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're part of that. So let's look at these tarot cards. Let me show you here up on the screen. Move my jar out of the way. So are we going to have more earthquakes? So I teach a tarot masterclass, and I've been having so much fun with my tarot cards. So I wanted to show you what these look like. So the way that I did this spread is a past, a present, and a future. And what the energy of earthquakes are, we obviously, if you've been following the news, know that we have this uptick in the cluster of earthquakes in Santorini, Greece. People have been evacuating. And so I was curious to see if that was really going to blow, if they were going to have the eruption there. Looking at these cards, this does tell me that we are in a situation right now where that cluster of earthquakes will continue. That's that Eight of Swords there in the middle of my card spread. And then if you look directly below that, that is the Eight of Wands. The Eight of Wands for me is a card about things progressing quickly, moving fast. What I do find hope about in this card spread, though, is you have the Six of Swords in the bottom right-hand corner. So for me, that card is about, it's been turbulent. You kind of see down in the lower right-hand corner, there's waves, there's turbulence. But where they are headed is into calmer waters. So I do think we're going to see an uptick in earthquakes. I do sense psychically that the earth is doing its own shaking and purging, just like the humans are that are on top of her, just like we're in the restaurant, like Scott said, but the earth is going through her own energy healing and purging, I believe. And so while that happens, I do anticipate that there is going to be an uptick in what we're seeing in terms of natural disasters in different parts of the world. So I wanted to share that card spread. And I know some of you do tarot card readings, and yeah, it's a crazy time to be alive. But I do think we incarnated here for a reason at this time, and whew, it's quite a miraculous show that we're seeing here as patrons of the restaurant. We get to see what unfolds each and every day. And as much as there is a lot of intensity and sorrow and darkness, I also see, and hopefully you also experience, that on the other side of that, we also have a lot of really incredible things that happen, and that our lives are filled with miraculous moments. And even when we think things are going to be really, really hard, or we're going through a dark night of the soul, I know that there is always somebody nearby that can help you and to help walk you through this. You are never alone. And even if you physically feel alone, you are surrounded by angels and guides, your ancestors, your loved ones on the other side. You are never alone. So my hope is that this weekly show, which is going to be 3 p.m. Tuesdays Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern, I hope you come back each week and join us. If you enjoyed this episode today, please share it with the people in your life that you think are open to this, so that they also don't feel alone. And we'll bring back the jar next week, and so you can come live and comment and enter into the drawing for that tarot report. I'm going to go over that here in just a moment. Let's see if there's anything else I needed to do. I'm going to pull one oracle card, and then I just want to see what the message is for the collective. So let me pull the card. And I'm feeling like, I know there's people that haven't, Sacred Signals is pretty new. So if you're into all of these predictions and you want to come join us and you want to be a part of the Discord community, anybody that signs up for Sacred Signals in the next 15 minutes, let's do 15 minutes. And you can do it on the website, spiritandspark.com. spiritandspark.com. I will be at my computer and I will pull you, I will shuffle my oracle cards if you join us in Sacred Signals, and I will send you a card via email. But it has to be in like the next 15 minutes while I'm actually sitting at my computer. So come and join us. I'd love to have you in that community. So let's pull this oracle card for everybody and see what we get. And then I'll do our jar winner for the tarot report. Ooh, okay, so we have 8 of spades. So let me read this to you. It is time to change old patterns or habits that are no longer serving you. Is it time to establish new disciplines that support your chosen direction in life, or the direction you desire to take? Self-discipline will lead you to self-mastery, and with the 8 of spades showing up, it might be time to take all of the aforementioned up a notch, as this is what will guarantee success. If you are embarking upon a new project, the card says that there is success before you. The more focused and disciplined you are with your integrity, the greater the outcome. Give yourself permission to be the authority. The gift of your authenticity will be enlightening for others. It's just a matter of owning that fully and allowing that expression of your true nature to be at the forefront of your actions. So what I get from this card is, if you're hearing this and you're a part of this, because I know the universe brings us together, right? And so if you're here with me watching this video, this card is about stepping in to your gifts, stepping into owning your voice, being a shining light for other people. We all find ourselves in different groups, whether it's in a charity or at work or a fun social setting. What kind of light are you shining in those groups? And Scott talked about it today, talked about the energy of groups and coming together with people, not so much a romantic relationship perhaps, but that we'll be coming together with people more and more in these groups. And so as you find yourself around people, maybe it's family, maybe it's coworkers, friends, how are you showing up as a light, as a leader, as somebody that is confident, but also shows that Leo energy we talked so much about today? How can you lean into your heart more? How can you lead with compassion? So encourage you to think about that and think about your group dynamics as we go through this week. In next week's episode, Celeste Brooks, She is on social media, Astrology by Celeste. If you've been on my Instagram at all, you've probably seen Celeste and I go live. So she will be my guest astrologer next week, next Tuesday. So put it on your calendar. Okay, I think I'm about done. One more quick mention before I pull the winner. A lot of you have taken the psychic quiz, and that's been really fun. We've been sharing on social media the percentage of people that take the quiz that have like clairvoyance or clairaudience. And so if you haven't taken the quiz, it's totally free. Go do it over at spiritandsparks.com. You can see what your psychic gift is. It's just a really fun thing we're doing. It's totally free. So go take the quiz. Okay, I think I just hit my button that says get a winner. Okay, so if you're just tuning in or you caught the last of this, if you commented during the live stream, your bauble went into the jar. I'm going to pick one winner. The one winner, you have until tonight at midnight to email me, and you have to send me your YouTube name, your screen name, and that's how I'll know it's you. And so if you email me and say, I was your winner, your jar winner, then I will send you your custom personalized tarot report for the year ahead. You can't even buy them. So this is a real treat, just something that we're going to do for fun. I'm going to do another prize next week. So that's why you got to keep coming back. So let's pull a winner. Let's see what happens. This is my first time. So it says Lori, Lori. So I'm guessing there's just one Lori that was on the stream today. So Lori, your screen name is just Lori. Make sure you email me by midnight tonight. Tell me you're my jar winner, and I'll get you that tarot report. So many things going on. Stay close, and we'll be back next Tuesday for the live stream. And if you're in Sacred Signals, then I will see you this Thursday for the live stream, and then you get the full replay afterwards if you can't make it live. So more about that in your member portal. And yeah, go enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for being a part of this first Planets and Predictions show that we did, and I'll see you next Tuesday, if not before then.